Oh my God. Hey,
Hello.
it's good to meet you. Finally meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for doing this for me.
You're welcome. We already live. I hit the button by mistake, but we already live, and we're gonna just wait till some people come in, and we're gonna talk. And I just want to first start off and tell you that I'm very sorry what happened to your son.
Well, thank
And
you.
it's not really a lot of words that I can say to a woman or anybody that lose a loved one, because there's no words to say. But I'm here for you, and I apologize to whatever happened to your son, and we're here for you as well. Good afternoon, guys. I'm Rodeo Live, and this is a sad story coming out of Missouri. This young lady, son was about to graduate high school.
He had already graduated.
He had
He
already graduated.
graduated to 2020. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so he graduated 2020. I thought he was just about to graduate.
No, ma'am.
Okay, so can you go ahead and brief everybody? Can you bring your camera closer to you? Cause we
Yes,
can't
ma'am.
really see your face.
It's fine. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Can you explain to us about um your son Durante?
Yes, ma'am.
The day that he left your house, he left home on the 23rd of April this year. Um some friends came over and picked him up, and he's supposed to been going out with them, hanging with them for a little bit, and all of a sudden he supposedly allegedly ended up in the town where your mother lived at, his grandmother.
hmm Well, no, it's actually still 40 miles from where actually he was supposed to go. He was supposed to be leaving my house to go to his grandmother's house. So from St. Louis, he was supposed to be going to Park Hills, Missouri, in which he never went to Park Hills, as far as we know, because he never arrived at my mom's house. And he ended up in Fredericktown, Missouri, which is actually still about 40 miles south of Park Hills, Missouri.
Wow. So tell us about when he left and he never made it to your mother's house. Your mother became worried, and you also became worried and weary about where he is. Can you tell us, take us back to April the 23rd, when y'all realized that he never made it to your mother's house? Take us back to that day when y'all started to call him and wonder where he was.
Okay, well, on April 20, well, on the 22nd, he had surgery on his right hand to where he had a boxer fracture. So they had put a cast and pins in his fingers and cast his right hand. And so that was the 22nd. And on the 23rd, he asked if he could go down to my mom's house until the 27th. And I said, well, how are you getting down there? And he told me some friends. And I said, well, okay. And I said, well, that's fine. I can pick you up on the 27th. So he left my house. The last time I seen him alive was April 23rd, 2020 at 11:55 a.m.
So,
And
so it was 2020 when he left the house, April 23rd,
yeah,
2020.
21. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm just every day is it's all mixed up now, scrambled up. But yeah, it was 21.
so he left your house April 23rd, was the last time you seen him,
hmm
2021, and he was en route to your mother's house.
Yes, in Park Hills, Missouri, and that's like 60 miles from my house.
Who was the friends that came and picked him up?
One the guy driving was a guy named Eddie Leaps, and there was another guy, Bash, and Mason that was in the car with them when they left here.
How old was your son?
19.
19 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
So he leave home, you thinking he okay. He's headed to your mom's house. What
Hmm.
set off the alarm that something happened? Because did your mother call you, or did you call your mother to find out where he was, or was y'all trying to contact him?
Well, actually, I was talking to her, and she said, "Well, have you seen Durante?" Um, I said, she said, "Why would I see Durante?" I said, "Because you know he coming down there." She was like, "Oh Lord." She said, "How he get down here?" I said, "Well, Eddie and them bringing him down there." And she was like, "Oh well, okay." And she said, "Well, I'll be waiting on him." So this was the 23rd, and so the 24th, she called. She said, "Durante didn't come here last night." And I said, "Well, he might have stayed all night over there with Eddie now." I said, "You know how they is. Like, everybody stay all night at everybody's house." So she said, "Well, I'm gonna text him and call him." I said, "Well, go ahead. And just let me know if you talk to him."
Right,
So she said, "Well, you know, Durante ain't called me back and he ain't text me back." I said, "Well, keep calling." I said, "You know, you want to talk to him, keep calling him." I
right,
said, "Cause you know, if I call him right now, you know, he really ain't gonna answer the phone." I say, "And then he gonna text me back." And so she said, "Well, I'm finna call him." And so within the midst of her, before we got off the phone, she had a second phone line and her phone rang. So when her phone rang, she answered it, and it was actually my nephew calling her and letting her know that somebody had just called him and Durante was shot and he was dead.
wow,
And I said, "What?" Now, mind you, I'm in St. Louis, she's in Park Hills. So she hung up the phone, and I'm like, "Hold on, I know what I heard." So I
right,
called her back and I said, "What is going on? What is going on?" And she was like, "Erica, get her quick." She said that Durante been shot. I gotta find him. I don't know where he at. So she was calling from her end and I was calling from my end on my way to Park Hills. Well, after I called every hospital from Festus to Fredericktown, I couldn't find Durante. There wasn't even a John Doe, no Durante. So I called her back. I said, "Did you find him?" I said, "Is Durante okay?" She said, "Erica," she said, "I found him." She said, "Durante's at Fredericktown morgue."
wow,
I said, "No, Durante's not." She said, "Erica, Durante is at the morgue. I just called him. He's at the morgue." So when I said, "Well, what are they saying?" She was like, "I don't know." She's like, "Hold on, I'm gonna call you back." So I then called the morgue myself and I asked them, I said, "I'm looking for a black male." I said, "He is 6 feet, 250 pounds. He has a broken right hand with a cast on his hand. They just told me that my son is shot. Is he there?" He told me yes.
wow,
I said, "Well, I'm on my way there." He told me I couldn't come because of COVID,
wow.
that we couldn't get in.
So
And when
how
my
long
mom,
was he? How long was he actually in the morgue?
from 3 o'clock that morning to 12 o'clock that evening before we found out. And we just found out by, as you know, they say street. Nobody till this day has come and told me from the Madison County Police Department that my son is dead. I
Wow,
have never gotten a death notice.
wow.
I never went from this happened from on April 25th. I didn't get a chance to see Durante until a day before his funeral, May 17th.
From April 25th to May 17th, you never got to lay eyes on your
Yes,
son.
yes.
And what was the
So the last,
reasoning why? What was the
well,
reasoning why they would not allow you to see your son for that long?
first they because like I said, they told me I couldn't come in because it was COVID. Now mind you, this was on a Sunday. And they told my mom she couldn't come because it was Sunday and they were closed. So and after each day I came called after that, then they were doing an autopsy report. So then once they did the autopsy report, we were waiting on them to transfer him to the other funeral home. And then they kept putting a hold off on when the funeral home can pick him up. And then
So
they
who
finally
identified
enforced
his
to get
body?
him. Technically, They did. No family member identified him. I didn't get a chance to identify him. They told my mom that they did it off of fake facial recognition.
Do they have facial recognition there?
As far as I'm aware of, no.
Well, this is tough. So here it is, April 25th. You found out your son is actually deceased in the morgue. I know you have to have million of questions running through your
Mhm.
mind, like what happened to my son? Why
Mhm.
didn't no one contact us? Not the police department, not none of his friends. Nobody contacted your
Mhm.
family to
Nobody.
let y'all know your son was shot.
Mm-mm. And then the day when it was the same day on the 25th later that evening, the guy Eddie brought Durante's clothes that he had took from my house with him because he was leaving from the 27th, so he had clothes and his phone. He returned it back to me, but his phone had been deleted. They deleted his contacts and call logs out of his phone
Did you
and text
ask
messages.
did you ask his friend what happened to your son and why
Yes,
he
I
didn't contact you?
yes,
That your son was shot?
he said that because he wasn't there, Durante left his house and going to the party with some more friends. He didn't go to the party because he decided that he wanted to sleep. So when he got up at 2:30 in the morning, he went and drove out to Fredericktown and picked up a guy named Caden. And when he got there, he asked Caden, where was Durante? He said Durante wasn't there. He had left with Zach. So then they in turn left.
Wow.
So they didn't know where Durante was.
So the other guy, Zach, was Zach at the party that night?
Yes, Zach was there, but the reason why you have to pay attention to the times. Now, mind you, remember Eddie said that he picked Caden up at 2:30 a.m.
Okay.
This came from Eddie's mouth. This is what he told us on the 25th. So when we got down to the bottom of it, we contacted the police or whatever. They told us, even the guy at the coroner's office at Foley's Funeral Home, they told us that he had a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the left side of his head. And I told him then that Durante was right-handed and he also has a cast on his hand. He says people can shoot themselves with their left hand too.
But Durante had a cast on his was it left hand or right hand?
His right hand.
On his right hand that he had just got on his hand on the 23rd of April. And he
Yes,
had screws
22nd.
and pins in his arm
Mm-hmm.
and plus the cast.
In his hand. Mm-hmm.
And plus had the cast on.
Yes.
So he's right handed. So how would he shoot himself on the left side of his head?
Right.
And it would be very awkward for him to take the gun and try to pull a trigger and aim at his head with the left hand.
Right. And so with this, after they did that, I knew that wasn't true. So we paid for a second autopsy. And when I got the second autopsy back, it revealed that he had a distant gunshot wound to the left side of his head, that it was not self inflicted.
They actually
And
said that the gunshot wound came from at least 2 feet away.
yes, 2 to 4 feet or more. Hmm.
But yet the police department still called it a homicide. But yet the autopsy
A
saying,
suicide.
yeah, the police department saying it was a suicide, but the autopsy saying it was a homicide.
Right. And also, the homeowners are the ones who cleaned up the crime scene. The crime scene was never taped off, and they Snapchatted. the crime scene where he was supposed to be sitting on this couch or wherever he was, with his body and blood everywhere.
They did what with it?
They put it on Snapchat.
They put it on Snapchat with your son laying there dead.
Yes.
Did you see that?
One of my daughters did. Other
Wow.
people seen it too. That's how I know about it. And then one of my daughters seen it.
So here you are. Your son has been murdered, and you know he didn't shoot himself and kill himself because he was a star football player. Was he on his way to college or anything?
No, he was had to get his SAT scores up. He had got accepted, but his scores wasn't high enough, so he had to work on getting them up.
He still had new clothes and stuff that he had just bought in the closet at
Mhm.
home.
They
He
still
was
hanging up. I I haven't removed anything. Like my 13-year-old moved in the room, but everything is still the same as he left it. Like the water pitcher's still in the room and everything.
so your son left home in good spirits.
Mhm.
Going to see his grandma. He gonna stay down there with his friends and your grandma for about 5 or 7 days, and you gonna pick him up on the 27th. You was gonna
Mhm.
pick him up. He go with his
Mhm.
friend, and they supposed to be going to a prom party.
Right.
They get down there, and instead of going to his grandma's house, the last thing you heard was they went to a prom party. Tell us about this prom party that they attended.
So at this prom party is at a known racist house by the name of James Wade, and he threw this party for his 18-year-old daughter. It was her prom. So it was, I guess, numerous number of kids at this house. Well, they say Durante was upstairs in the attic with the guy Zach the whole time, and Durante and Zach was upstairs, and the next thing you know, they hear a gun go off, and Zach tells them that he had the light off, and he shined the light, and Durante shot himself in the head. And or there's also a story that says it was four different people that went in and tried to talk him out of shooting himself. And then when Zach went in the last time, he tried to stop him, but he shot himself in the head. Then further down the line, we got stories that Durante and Zach were in the room, and Zach shot Durante in the head. There's a story to saying where Durante fell through their floor, right hand broken, and pulled himself back up out of their floor and shot himself in the head.
Wow.
And there's a story saying that a girl went to James and told her that Durante charged at her, and she was scared, and he told her, "Don't worry about it. I'll handle this. I'm tired of this." And he goes upstairs. And as he goes upstairs, she said she leaves, and within 10 minutes later, they called her and told her Durante was dead.
Who was the girl?
I don't know exactly who she is. She's just somebody who was at the party.
Then this party, I know I hate to say this because people say it don't matter, but it do matter. There was this party
Hmm
was it mainly a black people, a black
He
person party.
no, he was the only black person there.
So he was at this known racist house, and he was the only black
Hmm
person there,
hmm
and he's not even from that town, but he went
hmm
with some friends over there.
hmm So this is all supposed to be willingly. But when you pull up to this man's house, he has Confederate flags all out the front of his house. Durante would have never went in that house willingly. And then, like, it's a story saying where they shot him up with meth, and then they shot him in the head
Tell us about the
because
own.
they.
Tell us about the
Mm-hmm,
owner of the house. I heard allegedly this ain't the first time that some type of
and
shooting happened at his premises.
No, there's another guy who also committed suicide, and he was found shot in the head, rolled up in a mat.
At this same location.
Yes, ma'am.
Was this a black guy or white guy this time?
He was a white guy.
So this is the second allegedly suicide that happened at this house where your son was murdered as well.
Correct.
What type of help are you getting and assistance are you getting from the police department there?
None whatsoever. And like it's like even if you listen to the 911 call when he called in that now there's a pastor who lives maybe two houses down or whatever, however, but he heard a gunshot at 2:00 a.m. on the 25th. And he's supposed to have been reported this gunshot at 2:00. Well, at 3:01 a.m., James Wade makes a 911 call.
Do you have
And
the recording?
let me see. It's on YouTube. That's how I always listen to it.
I think I had it
I was,
before. How would I look it
yeah,
up on YouTube?
Durante Martin, Missouri. Well, while you're looking for, I finished telling, so
Right.
they don't know what the then at the 911 call, you can actually hear in the background if you listen to where she says they shot him.
Yes, I need the cops and an ambulance. Yeah, apparently a guy just shot himself. You said a guy just shot himself? Yeah. And that's it? Yeah. And is that where you are? Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah. Is he breathing at all? Yeah. No. Do you think he's beyond any help? Do you want to try CPR? Somehow got in the back of my... okay. Okay, you're cutting out. Hang on a second. Okay. I can't even get transferred. Steve. Hey. Can you hear me? See if he's breathing. Thank you, yes. He is breathing? He's gasping for air, they said. How old is he, do you know? How old is he, like? Maybe 20, 19, 20, 21, somewhere like that. Shot at? In my head. And that's our... I can't really see him, but is he alert at all? Is he conscious? He don't look like it. And when did this happen? 3 minutes ago. You said 3 minutes ago? No. You. Okay, you're hard to hear again. You're cutting out. I can't understand you. I'm trying to find the spot where you thought it. Hello? I can hear you now. Oh, yeah. When I called you. What was your name? James Lee. Can you hear me?
As you can hear, he sounds very unconcerned about the fact that your son was shot.
Correct. And if you look her in the background at the beginning, you can hear the girl says, "Oh my God, they shot him." She says, "I hate this." There's a slight pause, and another guy says, "It's all your fault." And then you hear James continue to talk to the 911 operator.
Wow. So your son was murdered in front of multiple people, and it's on the 911 tape where the young lady said they shot him, and the police department is not doing no investigation on this as a murder, even with your second autopsy.
Correct. Correct.
Did anyone ever say who the gun belongs to?
No. They won't even. I don't even know what caliber the gun was. They won't even tell me.
You got absolutely no answers at all.
None.
Have you
And just like one day I asked her, I said, "So you mean to tell me the only thing that you tell me that my son is dead, that's the only thing that you can tell me?" She said, "Yes."
Wow. How did that make you feel as a mother that they have so much disregard for the child that you birthed and raised?
I mean, like, I hate it. Like, honestly, it's like in the way I be like, I feel like I be wanting to take matters into my own hands, but then you can't, So then it make you feel like you're helpless because it's like, what are they doing? Like, my baby dead for no reason. Y'all won't even tell me why. Y'all won't arrest nobody, Y'all know this man is not right. And obviously it's right there in the recording, right there in your face, Y'all supposed to be questioning all this evidence and all these people or telling what happened and telling the story. But at the same time, you can't put the puzzle pieces together and to solve this and know that this is a homicide. You rather just open and close the case and just say it's a suicide and just be done with it.
Have you tried to reach out to a department that's higher than the local police department down there to do a investigation of their own?
They are saying that the highway patrol has stepped in and they are investigating, but I still get the same answers from the highway patrol. It's under investigation. They can't tell me anything. I don't know if they talked to Eddie. I don't know if they talked to Caden. I don't know, I don't know any of this.
You don't know if they investigated the female in the back that said y'all shot him. They shot him.
Correct.
And the guy says it's all your fault.
Correct.
I wonder.
And actually, if you turn it up in like in a quiet room, you can listen to. He says, "Zach, how old is he?" He actually says his name and asks Zach, "How old is he?" And that's when Zach says 19, 20. And then you hear James say 19, 20, 21.
Right. So that was Zach that was answering that question for him when we heard that.
Correct.
And so what is Zach saying happened to your son on that day? Have you spoken to Zach?
No, I don't know Zach. I've never met Zach. This was the first day I've ever first time I ever heard of Zach when all this happened. I didn't even know that he knew a Zach.
Have you tried to figure out who is Zach and his last name?
Yes, I know his last name.
Okay.
His name's Zachary Graham.
What is it that you want everybody to help you do out here far as your son being murdered, and the police department is trying to sweep it or brush it underneath the rug because it's another black man shot dead and seem like no one cares. What is it
Hmm.
that you need help with, and what you need for us to do as a community?
To help me speak out and seek justice for him, because honestly, I'm not just saying this as a mother and just saying this because of this is my child. Like, honestly, Durante did no wrong to nobody. He would give you the clothes off his back. These same little boys that took him and lured him away and did this to him, he fed them, he clothed them, he snuck them in our houses to get them showers. He found them rides to go to their court day. He didn't have to go to court. You know, they have to go to the juvenile look court or whatever. He'll
Right.
find them a ride to go to court. He'll pay gas money for them to get to work.
Wow.
You know, and it's not just him. He did that to all his friends. You know, because that's the type of person he was.
Also, a lot of his personal items was not returned, like his
No,
shoes and things like that. What happened to the shoes? Where are the shoes
they
and things at?
exactly. They told me that they went to the funeral home, but the thing about it is, now the funeral home that we use is a family funeral home. We've been using that in our family since, I can tell you, the first funeral that I went to probably was in 1985. I was born in 84. I ain't gonna say I remember it, but that's how long I know. And before, that's how long the family been using this funeral home. But they said that the clothing and everything was gone to the funeral home, so they don't know what the funeral home did with the clothes
What about
or the
his
shoes.
identification and things like that?
And we don't have
No identification or nothing.
none.
What's the name of the police department that this happened at? What's the name of what town is this that your son was murdered
Fredericktown,
at?
Fredericktown, Missouri.
Do you have their police department phone number and things like that?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you share it with
Is
us so we can call and ask them to let them know that we want answers to this case and we would like this case reopened up. If we can get people, we may have somebody up here, a lawyer or attorney, somebody that know the law and the proper roads to take when it comes to dealing with them, to get them to reopen up this case and let them know that the whole world is watching them and how they're gonna handle this case.
mm-hmm.
Can you
Okay.
say their
Let
phone
me
number
get.
for us?
Hold on. Let me get it so I can. I don't know. I don't want. I'm scared to click it off. So hold on.
Guys, it's a sad day in Missouri where her 19-year-old son left home with some friends. They picked him up. He was headed to his grandma's house in another county or another city, and he never made it to his grandmother's house. The next day, her mother and herself was talking, and she's like, um, Durante was coming to your house. Have you seen him? The grandmother said, what? No, I haven't seen him. That's when it raised suspicious. The next morning, when he never showed up, um, they start calling around trying to see can they find him. No one knew anything about him until a cousin called while the mother and grandmother was on the phone and said that he has been shot. Um, they called several more, and when the grandmother called one, they said, yes, we do have him here, and they had his body here. And no one contacted the family to allow them to know that their child has been shot and murdered in that city or that county. Um, he was there since 2, 3 o'clock that morning, and they didn't find out until later on that afternoon. The mother is wondering what happened to her son. She needs help to figure out what happened to her son. Was her son lured out of town and taken away to be murdered? Or did someone pick him up and take him to a location where he should not have been? Allegedly, the house he went to, this man allegedly has already had someone, quote unquote, to commit suicide there before and was rolled up in a carpet. Now here's her son, also, quote unquote, supposed to have committed suicide. But the second autopsy say it was impossible for him to commit suicide when he was shot from 2 feet or more inches away on the left side of his head, and he was right-handed. Also, he had multiple screws and multiple screws in his hand and a cast on his arm. Mother, do you have the phone number?
Yes, it's 573-783-2286.
Can you say that one more time for us?
Hold on, let me make sure I got it right. Fredericktown, Missouri Police Department.
Listings for police department around Fredericktown. Here they are.
Okay, it's 783 3660 573 573 783 3660.
One more time. I think we got a little confused. One more time for us.
573 783 3660.
Guys, guys, if y'all want to call tonight, tomorrow, we need to start making calls down there, asking the police department what happened to Durante and why do they have him down as a suicide when the autopsy said it was a murder. We need to find out, is anybody still investigating this as a homicide instead of suicide, and if they're not, then why? We as a community must come together and help this sister fight and find out what happened to her child, and also bring justice to the ones that did this to her child. They must serve the time for what they did to her child. And also she deserved to know the answers to what really happened to her son on that day. Zach needed to be interviewed. The young lady at that house at that party that night needs to be interviewed. And also Eddie, the one that Devontae supposed to have been spending the night with, allegedly didn't go to the party, but allegedly woke up and picked Zach up around 2 o'clock in the morning,
Right.
2:30 in the morning. How you pick him up at 2:30 in the morning, and he was shot at 2 o'clock?
That's why I made you pay attention to that. You caught on to it. That's why I said pay attention to the time. But James also told the news, Channel 5 News, KDSK, it's on the YouTube also, that clip. But he also told them that he had been out fishing and he wasn't there. But pay attention on the 911 call. He had told them that it happened 30 minutes ago.
Who will call the police 30 minutes later? I thought he said 3 minutes. He said 30.
It's 3 minutes or 30 minutes. But
Wow.
either way it go, he said he just heard him. And the 911 call came in at 3 o'clock.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I am Rodion Live, where this will be a continued investigation on what happened to Durante. Who, Eddie, where did you take him at? Zach, what did you do to him? Or who did what to him? Who was the young lady in the house? How many people was at the scene? Who posted him being shot on what app was that?
Snapchat.
Snapchat. And is the video still up there or not?
No, it's deleted.
Did you get in contact with Snapchat to find out who posted that picture of your son? Because whoever posted that picture had
I
to
haven't
be there.
been able to find a way to do that yet.
Wow. Well, this is going to be an ongoing investigation with you. We're not going to leave your side. We're here for you. Anytime you want to use this platform to bring awareness to what happened to your son, I'm more than willing to help you get your story out there so it will not go unnoticed. I want to come back with you maybe maybe a week or so from now to see have we got any updates or have you heard anything from them. Me, myself, personally, I will be calling the police department to ask them, why is this considered a homicide, a suicide, when it's clearly a homicide? And if they did anything, I know they're not going to give me no answers, but if enough of us call, they're going to have to do their job. I'm ready alive.
Mm-hmm.
Our prayers and our condolences are going out to you and your family. I'm
Well,
sorry what
thank you.
happened to your child. I'm really upset. Have you got any counseling or anything for your younger kids?
No, ma'am.
It's no words to say to. It's really no words to say to a mother that
And
lost a loved one.
it's like the hardest thing is because like I've experienced death before. No, I've never lost a child before in any way. But like my kids, they have never lost anybody close to them. And then the first person that they ever lose that's close to them is their brother.
How is that having a domino effect on your children?
It's like, well, the first week when I got out of my twins, well, Peace never gets in trouble in school. I mean, like, Peace is Peace. She's quiet. Well, within the first week of this, Peace was getting calls home from school. Whereas Patience, she stayed home from school. That's the other twin. She didn't go. Amori, that's my 13-year-old. He went depending on how he felt. You know, the 5 and 6-year-old, they wanted to go to school. Well, 6 and 7-year-old, I'm sorry. They wanted to go to school and they went. But when they went, they expressed themselves and talked to the teachers and told them how they lost their brother. And one teacher actually gave them a picture of Durante and teddy bears.
Wow.
So she told them so they'll have something to remember him by.
Is there anything that you would like to say to the police department where your son in Fredericktown lost his life? Would you like to say something to the detectives, the investigators, and also the chief of police in Frederick town?
They need to really put themselves in my situation because just like this, the small town, even though they are police, this could have been their child. And they would have wanted an investigation done. They would have did the right investigation. You know, if it was the right person or the right color, if it was a white kid. And just like I told them earlier, I said, now, if the shoe was on the other foot and the story was being told where Zach was the one who was supposed to have committed suicide and ended up shot, Durante would have been in jail day one.
Right.
It would have
Right.
been no question or nothing. Even if Zach would have committed suicide, Durante would have been in jail.
Right.
Because he was a black man.
Right. That is so sad.
Correct. And
once
then just
again, here we are, another black man killed and murdered. No one thinks Black Lives Matter. No one cares until it hit their own front door. Until it's your own child is when you want to get angry. But we should get angry now, so it won't be your child next. If these people murdered her son, who's next? If he got away with murder not once, allegedly twice, who's gonna be the next victim of this man? They say anything more than 2 murders is he's a serial killer. So if he killed one more person, then he's actually a serial killer. That's the part they need to look at. He have a fetish with killing people, and he's getting away with murder right there in Frederick town. So it's sad. This thing is bigger than what people think. The thing about it is everybody's lives is in danger that lives in that town, and they need to look at that seriously. If he did it to your child, he would do it to anybody else's child. You can see they're a tight-knit community. No one is speaking. No one is telling. But the truth will prevail. I'm Rhoda Live. And thank you, Erica, for coming on to the show. If it's anything I can do for you to help you, please do not feel like you can't call me and reach out to me. You have my personal phone number. My phone line is open to you 24 hours a day.
Yes, ma'am.
And once again, I'm sorry that this happened to you and also your kids and your family.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, my love. It's a sad thing in Missouri.